Hey guys, shouting back. I am going to do a just roll with it video today. And I think I'm gonna do some summer, maybe swimming pictures of India. I'm not exactly sure because I want to see what we draw first to make sure, but we'll get started. So I'm gonna pick out the like bright summery colors. Let's do this one. Okay, so we're gonna use a sketch for inspiration. From scratch, that's gonna be hard. Okay, so first challenge up is gonna be the hard one. Journaling cards, ribbon or trim, and tickets, which means I have to make my own journaling cards and my own tickets. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull together some stuff, and I'll be back in just a minute to show you the process. Okay, so I am back and I've pulled together some things to do my from scratch layout using all these fun things. So for ribbon or trim, I've pulled this viney kind of trim from Stampin' Up that I actually bought like a long time ago and then forgot about. So there it is. The next thing I've pulled for sketch inspiration is actually gonna be the sketch that I used this week. And I won't always, if I get sketch inspiration, again, I won't always use my own sketch or the same sketch I've already used, but I thought this could be kind of fun to show a different way to use a sketch and another variation. So I'm gonna turn it this way and do my vines up that way and make this like the sand. Do my photo, do my title and my journaling over here, and just sprinkle fun bits all over. So we will see how that works. From scratch, everything's going to be from scratch, so that's good. Journaling cards, I'm going to have to make as I go because I need to pull paper to see what kind of journaling cards I'm going to make. I don't know if I'm going to do actual journaling cards, or when I said journaling cards, I meant like 3x4 or 4x6 Project Life cards. So I might just cut some paper down to 3x4 or 4x6 and incorporate it that way. We'll see how that goes. So that will come later. Tickets, I have a ticket stamp. So I have this one, says admit one. This is just has a number and some stars. This is a larger one that is actually part of a party invitation. I think all of them are supposed to be for invitations to a party, but we're gonna stick with these up here because they're more simple and plain, and we will try to incorporate those in some way, which is kind of weird in an ocean themed. We'll see how that goes. I also pulled out the Seaside Notion stamp, which is still a current stamp with Stampin' Up. I thought that would be fun for the sand, and then incorporating some of these guys into the background and the scenery and as embellishments. And then this is the Make a Splash stamp set, and this was a host reward. So it's not really available anymore, I'm sorry, but I really love the little crab and that little fish, so we're gonna incorporate that as well for some extra stuff. So, oh, and then lastly, sorry, my background paper is gonna be this really pretty blue. It's from Stampin' Up, and if I can figure out the color, because I'm really bad with colors, if I can figure out the color name, I'll link that below. And then the Stampin' Up Vanilla, I think that's what it's called, vanilla, something like that. It's their off-white cream color. I'll use that for the sand. I just pulled out some plain vellum, and which is also Stampin' Up. And then this is the photo I'm gonna do. I'm gonna layer it up on vellum and probably add some more little embellishments on vellum. And then this is the photo I'm gonna do. So I am going to put you on fast forward and you'll hear my voiceover and get this whole layout made. Okay, so now I'm on voiceover, and this is a few days after I even started this layout because it actually took a little longer than I thought it would because I had a lot of interruptions with the 4-year-old and just life in general. So you'll see in pieces like things I come back to because I also have to let things dry and stuff like that. So first off the bat, I tore a piece across the bottom of this cream colored cardstock, and this will be my sand. And then I thought it'd be kind of cool to layer it just to give it a little bit more texture down there and a little bit more weight at the bottom. So I went ahead and cut the other side of that tear, and then I'm going to layer those together to make this fun stand area. I am going to go ahead and trace just with a pencil around my photo to try to, and then behind where the sand's going to go kind of, and I'm making sure that it covers up that pencil mark so that I can know where to do my mixed media. So I pull out some clear gesso. This is the Dina Weekly clear gesso, and you can probably hear India in the background. She's watching Tangled while I try to do this voiceover really quickly. So if you hear her, I'm very sorry, but we are just making do with what we have today to try to get this posted today, since it's already been a couple days since I made it. So I'm just using my palette knife to go across the whole page. And what I like to do is go down vertically and with the gesso, the clear gesso, and then go across horizontally so that I get a nice even coat and hopefully don't miss any spots. So, and I do a pretty thin coat just because it doesn't need a lot, and that dries pretty quickly, especially when you do a thin coat like that. So it is probably already dry by the time I get the palette knife cleaned off. Then I pulled out this stencil, and it's like little scallopy lines. It's kind of like water. So I pulled that out and am using that kind of behind the photo, but over to the left I'll do it as well. And this is the Brie Reese texture paste. Sorry, forgot the word for a second. And just a little side note really quickly, it doesn't make any difference, but I call it Brie Reese. It might be Bria Reese, but I call it Brie Reese because my middle name is Brie, spelled E-A. So I'm just going to call it that because that's what I like. So it doesn't really matter, but yeah. So I just do that texture paste across the background, and when it dries, it's almost the exact same color as the cardstock. So it'll just be a nice texture, but we'll do some mixed media over top of that in a minute. Now I've pulled out the stamp set that I'd shown you, the from Stampin' Up, and I'm pulled out 2 different colors of ink pads. This one is Crumb Cake, and then I'll also use Soft Suede, and they are also Stampin' Up ink pads. And I am just kind of stamping this around. It's supposed to be like the sand stamp anyways. And I was just going to do a little bit just to give it a little bit of texture, but then I end up pretty much covering the whole thing once I pull out that other one. Okay, sorry about that interruption. India came in and I had to get her back onto something else. So I pulled out that second color and I'm just going across again. And after this, this looks good, it's fine, but I do want just a little bit of texture. And if you've been around at all watching any of my videos, you'll know I like a lot of texture on my pages and just a lot of dimension in general. So what I'm actually going to do is pull out my Versamark ink pad, which is just a clear ink pad, and use clear embossing powder just to give a little bit of texture to the sand. So I'm just going to kind of stamp all over and then sprinkle it on. You can hear India in the background. I'm so sorry. And then do that all the way down. The other one I didn't go all the way down because that back part is hidden behind the front, so it didn't need it all the way. And then switch to the other end. And I'm not being careful or very specific about this. And I will fast forward so you don't have to watch all of the heat embossing, but this is just the tail end of it where you see me finish up. And then in just a second, I will show you. Oh, I'm doing just a tiny bit of gray ink across the edge, which I probably should have used one of those, the crumb cake or the soft suede, but I just needed a little bit of distinction so that you could see the layers very clearly, but you can see the embossing powder right there. So now I'm back to this. The texture paste is all dry, and I pulled out just all my blue and turquoisey kind of colors of mist and sprays. This one is a Distress Oxide. I have 2 Distress Oxide sprays, and then 2 Heidi Swap Color Shines. And I'm not really being very careful. I'm just kind of going all over. And that over on the right that I sprayed was water. And it's just kind of splotchy and weird. So I think after this, I will start... Yeah, I just start on the background. Oh, and then I have... That's the Speckled Egg, which is a new Distress Oxide, which is really pretty. And then spraying the water and just kind of moving that around and kind of... And then this is the Dilutions spray, and it's like a white pearl. And that is looking really cool now. Like, it was just getting kind of splotchy and weird looking, and I wasn't really a huge fan, but now it's kind of moving around. I really like that. So I do wipe it up, and I instantly regret it because you just lose a lot of that color. And you can see when I sprayed that white over the top, you could see where it like kind of splattered and gave kind of a different texture. It was kind of cool. And then I went ahead and splattered some white over the top as well. I'm going to set that aside to dry and then pull out some stamps. So this first stamp, I'm going to use the crab and the fish, one of the fish out of it, and just stamp it. And these are really cool because they are already like kind of colored in. I can't remember what it's called, but there's like, it's like a distinction stamp or something like that, and it already has like the texture, so it looks like it's already colored in, which is really cool. And so I just stamped some fish, and then I will stamp, and the fish I stamped in pumpkin, what is it, pumpkin pie. And then the crab, I believe I stamped that in the terracotta tile, which you see me use that one a lot. That's like one of my favorites. It's a nice like scarlety red where it's not super red. I don't really like red in general, but like a scarlet red like this, I don't mind. So the crab's the same way, where he's already pretty much colored in, which is really cool. And then that purple at the top of my screen is the stamp chamois thing, and it's just in a clear plastic case, and all you do is spray it down with water, and it just cleans your stamps off really well. It's really nice, and if you keep your case closed, it will hold the water in it pretty well. Like, not super wet, but just damp, so that you can wipe your stamps on it. And it's a nice foamy, like soft foamy texture. Is really cool. This one is mint macaroon, and I'm just stamping some of the coral pieces in it. The next one is a seashell, and I think I used soft suede for that one. And then I started with a coral color, but I didn't like that. It was too similar to the crab. So I pull out the soft suede, and then what I'll do is I'll stamp, and then I'll stamp off. So I'll get a couple colors of the shell in that soft suede. So, and I use the lighter 2 colors, not the darker color. And I'm just doing a few of each that I think I'll use, and trying to do it in different colors. And then I thought I would just use them white like this. And then I kind of thought about coloring them in, but I end up doing some mixed media over the top of them, and it turns out really cool. So I will show you that in just a second. This is a very long video and voiceover because there is a lot that goes into it. When you do something from scratch, it does take extra time. You get a really cool, like really unique look, but it does take a lot of effort. This is the pretty peacock for those seashells, and then I also stamped some seahorses, some more coral in purple, and I think something else, but I have not fussy cut those yet. I'm just loosely cut them out of the page. I am laying them on just some plain white printer paper to do my little bit of mixed media. I'm not doing it very heavily, but pretty much what I do is I spray lightly in one color and then kind of splatter other colors over the top. So there's the spray, and I do kind of wipe that one off just because I wanted to lighten that color just a little bit, and then I'm splattering some other colors. And I tried for each one to get at least one opaque color and one shimmer color. This one that I just sprayed is the shimmer white and from Dilutions, and you can't really tell that it did anything, but I'll go in with some other colors. And like I said, I tried to use at least one opaque color and at least one shimmer color just to give it some texture and some different look. I love these seahorses. I think they're so cute. And I sprayed them in like this light light orangey, like peachy kind of color. And then splatter with yellow and gold. And then I have the coral pieces, the purple coral pieces, and I use that really pretty Distress Oxide. Let's see what it's called. It is Shaded Lilac, and it's like one of my favorites right now. And then I pulled out this shimmer spray from Dilutions, and you can see my big blob there. I just throw that one out. There's not even a use in trying to salvage it. But look how pretty that shimmer is on that big splotch. And then this one, I used that Speckled Egg again, and that is a really pretty color. I got the spray, the mist, and the ink pad, and it is really pretty. So now that those are all, I've let them all dry, I've fussy cut most, if not all of them out. And then I pulled out, this background is all dry, so I went ahead and just pulled those same colors I used back out, and I'm just splattering across the back just to give it another layer of texture and some more dimension on the background. So I used that Heidi Shine, the teal color, the Distress Oxide Speckled Egg. This is a Tim Holtz Distress. It's the brushed pewter, it's the mica sprays, and then the shimmer white Dilution spray, which I'm already like used a lot of that. I think that's gonna be one of my new favorites as well, as that shimmer spray, the white. So I just soaked up, and see, I'm showing you the color and the texture on that. I love how it turned out. It dried so pretty. And so now I'm just going to pull out some of these vines to make the like seaweed look across the background. And I will show you how I glued one down, but this part did take a while just because they're kind of fiddly to use. I was going to stitch them down, but that just sounded like a headache, so I didn't even go there. I use my Nuvo adhesive, and I start at the top and just do a little bit of adhesive, and then I'm using my my stamp blocks, my acrylic stamp blocks, because they're heavy, to hold down and for the glue to dry. It's also nice because they wipe off really easily, so if glue does dry on them, they're easy to wipe off. And then I just go underneath and do the rest of the vine, and then repeat the same thing, like pressing it down and then adding acrylic blocks over top to hold it down while it dries. I will go ahead and do that for the rest of them, and fast forward because this just took a while just to get it down and waiting for things to dry between different pieces. And then I'm going to go ahead and while you can see all the things I have laying on top of it to the left while it's all drying. And while it's drying, I'm going to go ahead and start messing with my vellum. I just tore this all the way around, and I thought I was just going to use one edge, but that one side is really crinkly and it kind of bothered me. So I figured I'd go ahead and do another layer around it. So I'm going to use just the pieces I already tore off and just use those to layer up behind, which is kind of cool. It gives it a different kind of layery effect because they are different pieces, and just some more dimension and some more interest behind the photo. And I'm trying just to use up the pieces I've already torn off so I don't have to go into the big piece of vellum and get any more. And once I have those all adhered down, I'm going to stick it to this one. And so now you see it's just really rough around the outside. It's kind of cool. I cut a piece of white cardstock to 3 inches by 4 inches to make my journaling card, and I was going to stamp it to get the lines, but I thought this was cooler. I just stitched at about a little over 1/4 inch apart, all the way down with white thread, and it just gives it a little bit of texture, and I'll use that as my journaling card. I do use the stamp that says date across the top to stamp, and then I will write the date over there to the right of it later. And I'm just gonna start arranging things now. Everything I am adhering down with my Nuvo wet adhesive because I did use gesso and a lot of mixed media and texture paste on the background, and especially with those seaweed, that adds a lot of texture as well. So we are using liquid glue for all of it because we want to make sure it holds. So once I get these layered together, I'm just lining them up across the bottom to make sure that they're straight and even. And already that looks so cool with that background. I love how it's turning out. And I'm going to start just kind of sprinkling these bits around the page, trying to decide where I want everything. And I'm kind of layering bits around, trying to create this scene. I do kind of forget about the title until the end, and I will add a title, but I do forget about it. And honestly, it wasn't until I started editing the video that I remembered I didn't use the tickets. I didn't make tickets, so I did kind of fail my first challenge. I mean, I kind of did really well because all of this was from scratch, but I did kind of fail because I forgot the tickets. So, and honestly, even I could have gone back and added the tickets, because honestly what I would have done is just stamped them and just tucked them in as a layer behind the photos. So it's something I could go back and add, but I love how it turned out. I'm not going to go in and try to mess with it. So I'm just sprinkling these bits around. I will layer some of these coral pieces together to make them look bigger because they're all kind of low and just right there at the bottom. So I'm trying to decide what the best way to do that is now. I'm sorry, the dog is eating something he shouldn't be eating, so you hear him gagging. Sorry. If you haven't noticed, that's our running theme at my house, is the dog eating things he's not supposed to. If you noticed a couple weeks back, I told a little story about taking him to the ER, so it was fun. Now I'm just going to start adhering things down. I'm adhering the coral pieces first, and then I pull out some Stampin' Dimensionals to add the seashells. And I'm layering those together. Like right there where the purple coral is, I wanted it to be kind of taller than it was. So I didn't reach it all the way down to the stand, but using those seashells, it covered it up so you can't even tell. I'm going to go ahead and adhere the photo to the journaling card. And that I just used the adhesive, but I'm going to pull out some foam. This is just the craft foam with adhesive on one side, and just adding foam behind both the photo and the journaling. And I'm trying to coat the journaling card pretty well in foam because I do still have to write on the journaling card. So if it's not coated very well, it's it's not going to be smooth to write on. It's going to be a little more difficult. And then once I have that all together, I will use my Nuvo glue to adhere it all down. And I almost did it upside down and backwards. So now I've got that all down, and then I'll go ahead and add a big acrylic block on top of that to hold it down to dry, just for that weight. And then continue on with all the coral bits over here. And again, I'm stacking that one up to give it a little bit more height, and just to make it a little different than all the other coral pieces that are down there. And some of the pieces I'm tucking behind that bottom like sand piece, just to give it some more variation in height and stuff. And even on the sand down here, I'm using the liquid glue because it does have all that texture from the embossing powder. And these, I'm just kind of trying to fill in some of the sand with seashells, but also doing them in different directions so that it doesn't look like the same exact thing over and over. And using those Stampin' Dimensionals, I don't add any extra adhesive to the Stampin' Dimensionals because if you've ever used them, they are extremely sticky. I don't think I'm going to have a problem with them falling off at all. And especially being foam, they can kind of get in crevices and stuff that on the texture that normal adhesive wouldn't, because it's got that little bit extra dimension and give. And then tucking some more seashells back behind that back strip of sand. And sorry, this goes on forever. Apparently I thought you needed to see all of it, so it goes on for a while. And then the crabs, I did the same thing. I glued one down flat, and then I adhered the other one down with the foam dots. And one crab does have a little splatter of teal that like got on him by accident. And I did try to line that up so you can't tell as bad. It looks like it's more part of the vine, so it's less noticeable. Using some of the bones of the Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere this seahorse down, and just a little bit of glue there. I do love how he's overlapping the journaling card there. And all of these fish and seahorses, I think all of them I use dimensionals to adhere them. And then in a minute I will decide this is much more difficult way to adhere these guys down, so I'm gonna just bust out a new sheet of dimensionals. India's in the background singing, I'm sorry. She's a goof. She's like she's watching Tangled. She's in full, what's her name? Rapunzel, the dress. She's got a braid and the frying pan. Like, she's got the toy frying pan that makes noise. It's quite hysterical. So now I've got all of this done. I'm going to go ahead and fill in my journaling, and I'm not going to make you watch while I do all that because that's boring, and I think I cut it out in just a second. It's coming. Okay, so now I realize that I don't have a title. I pull out these Heidi Swap. They're from the Mink stuff, but they're just like title stamps. They kind of remind me of the title builder stamps from LA Studio, but they are like an eighth of the price because they were like $4 instead of like $20. So, and then I pulled out the purple.
Take me to the real puzzle and told me how so dead.
Oh, really?
Then when I
Oh, okay. Sorry, she's telling me something about the movie, but I can't understand what she's saying.
That's my deal.
Oh, okay, that's your deal. So
Tomorrow evening.
hold on. Sorry about that. I went ahead and paused it, talked to her, and got her back to going to the movie so that we can finish this. So these are really old. They're called Clearly Kelly stamps. I think they're Hero Arts. Yeah, that Hero Arts little symbol there. I don't know that I've ever used them, but I used them just to stamp summer down here at the bottom. The hello I did in a purple color that I thought was the same as the coral, but I think I picked the wrong one. I used the darker, but it's totally fine. And then the summer I did in the terracotta coral to tie those the color of the crabs in, because I don't have that anywhere else on the layout. I am just going to trim the summer into a rectangle, and then I fussy cut out the hello. I am popping both of these up on foam, but I'm just kind of trying to decide where they're going to go in the first place. I will use, I think, just craft foam for the summer. Just a little strip, yep. And then hello, I will use mini dimensionals for hello. And I just popped it up over there. It is kind of a random place for it. I looked at it above the photo and I kind of thought about below the photo as well, but I liked bringing that coral and the purple up to the top, so I went ahead and did it the way the sketch called for, which was the title. When I turned it, it makes the title up there on the top right. And then now I'm just adding the mini dimensionals, and then I'll adhere hello over the summer. There we go. And that's pretty much it. At this point, I'm going to pull out some Nuvo drops. I use the Aqua Mist glitter drops to do little bubbles from all of the sea critters. The fish and the seahorse and maybe the crabs. I don't think I do it from the crabs. And I start kind of bigger at the bottom and work my way up to smaller, and just to give a little bit more texture and I was saying color, but it's the same color as the background. It's just more texture to the background and a little bit more sparkle. Then I pulled out a couple of the like kind of pearl metallic colors. Sorry, my brain like blanked for a second. I couldn't think of the words in like these neutral colors, and I'm just adding some of these across the bottom. I thought they would kind of look like rocks, but I don't know that that's what it really looks like. It is, I should have done one, let them dry, done the next color, let it dry, done the next color, because they do end up kind of melting together, just how they settle. But I mean, it still looks good in the end. It's totally fine. It's just, if I had to do it over again, that's what I would do. And then that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching. This was kind of a crazy roller coaster for this layout. I usually don't take, even on layouts I do a lot to, I don't usually break it up into chunks of time like this. So it was really kind of odd working on it for me, but I really love how the layout turned out. I love that background. I'm gonna have to definitely do that again for another ocean one. And yeah, so hopefully this was a little inspiring, and hopefully next time I don't get the hardest like prompt on all of the blocks, which is from scratch. So and then I have today's Saturday. I will have a video out tomorrow for Stampin' Sunday, and it won't be a layout. It will be a haul from Stampin' Up! From their new catalog. And then Monday I will have a new sketch layout. So thank you guys again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and happy scrapping. Bye.